Hello and welcome to Infocus. I am Bradley Valenaki. The Road Traffic Authority plays an important role in the checks and balance on the roads in the city Port Moresby, but elsewhere in the country Papua New Guinea. And when there are issues raised on the current alleged abuse that's taking place on women and girls who are being victims of this here in the city, we discussed with the CEO of RTA on some of the interventions that have been taken to address some of these issues. Mr. Terema, Nelson Terema, the CEO of RTA, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
All right, so Mr. Terema, we understand that there were meetings that took place between RTA and all stakeholders, including the NCDC 2 weeks ago. RTA was also part of that.
Yes, in relation to one incident happened in a public transport along Port Moresby freeway, we had a discussion with the city NCDC, with the governor and the management team. In that meeting, we discussed about issues how we can address that issue and in relation to other issues regarding public transport in NCDC. So in that discussion, we agreed that RTA will be working closely with the city and NCDC so that we collectively can address the issue together with other agencies like Traffic Police, MEIL, and ICCC. Those are the agencies where we work together to address public transport in the city. During that discussion, earlier on, NCDC applied for 8 routes to operators of PMV in the city, which not to compete with the current operators, but lately there have been a lot of development taking place in the city. So those were not being issued with PMV licenses. So NCDC decided to put up public transport servicing those unlicensed routes. So RTA, PMB, and Taxi Committee approved 8 licenses to provide public transport. Those 8 licenses were issued for one from Gareu to 9 Mile back road, and secondly from Gareu back road from the University at the back and come to Waigani and return. And the other route is from Manu to end of the world at Terema. And another route is from Manu to 6 Mile, back road from Terema to 6 Mile and then back again. And another route is from 9 Mile to Laloki. Another route from 9 Mile to 17 Mile. And another route is to Buswara. So there are people living in there, but they've been public transport has not been provided, so NCDC is willing to take up those routes. So we, RTA went ahead and RTA board approved. It will be gazetted soon, and then NCDC will run those routes to service public transport for citizens of this country. And also, in that discussion, we also there are some routes being allocated already, but you will see that it's not being serviced. Like, for example, Route 8. You will no longer see Route 8 servicing the route. Or Route 14, Route 3, Route 1. So, but there are people living in those sections of the city. But PMB operators decided not to, for some unknown reasons, which we don't know. But as a regulator, we make sure that those routes must be serviced. So, at the moment, it has not been serviced, so NCDC is willing to take up those routes in future that they are looking at to increase the fleet and then also service those unserviced routes, but it's already been allocated routes for it. So in doing so, RTA is willing to work together with NCDC and the current operators as well, so that service must be evenly distributed right throughout the city. Nowadays, there is a lot of social issues like raping cases, stealing, a lot of things are happening. At the same time, taxi fare is very, very expensive. So people need to, travel on afforded, public transport, which is the bus. So we are trying to work closely with the NCDC to improve public transport services in the city. And in future, we are looking at communicating with other bigger centers like Ley and Mandoagen, and about how we can, work together with the city authorities to improve public transport.
All right. You spoke about the meeting there with the NCD governor and the other stakeholders there. From that meeting, a press release that came out stated that the governor said the current routes were a bit messy. Not the routes, but the current public transport system in Moresby. Your comments?
Yes, you will see that some of the vehicles, some of the buses are not really roadworthy. So what the governor said was that in order to address that sort of issues, he has also allocated an impounding yard, which is in the town, where they used to impound APEC vehicles. That lane is empty, so he will be communicating with the PNG ports and allocate that area to Road Traffic Authority and police to impound those vehicles which are not, especially the unroadworthy vehicles, to get them off the road and then replace them with new ones.
All right. Discussions there with the CEO of RTA, Mr. Nelson Terema. We'll go for a quick break and come back on the other side with more. Welcome back. You're watching Infocus. Still on the discussions on public transport and the RTA's role in all of this. Mr. Terema, in terms of compliance, you spoke about the unroadworthy vehicles now operating, but also the RTA, does it have the capacity or arresting powers to do so?
Yes, as a regulator, we regulate public transport in Port Moresby and other inter-travel journeys in the country. So the requirement is when they come in for inspection, we're making sure that the public transport must be roadworthy, making sure that they comply with all our requirements. So those are the ones we give them the license. But in Port Moresby, you will see that some are still unroadworthy. They don't come to, they are all illegal ones operating in the city. Like, for example, when you go to Manu, you will see that all of them are not being licensed. So that's a big challenge ahead of us, where all appropriate, agencies like police and the RTA and CDCB all should be working together to remove all those unroadworthy vehicles and impound them at a yard, so that those people who've got an interest, they can replace those routes and then licenses as well. So we are now looking at, because impounding yard was one of the big challenging issues with us because of the, we don't have a proper impounding yard. So since now the governor has given us the green light, we are going to work together with police and the NCDC to get rid of all those unlicensed VMPs who are currently operating in the city. So that, my warning to the owners is that you need to come forward to RTA and we need to discuss and address these issues rather than us coming and bringing your vehicles and impound them, whatever. So these sort of things we need. They are our partners. RTA is willing to work with the current operators and try to improve on how we can address those issues. So our page is always open, and I encourage them to come forward. We all need to, address the issues concerning you and also the issues concerning RTA. So that we have to solve those issues and work together to provide quality and effective public transport in the city for our citizens.
All right. So, Mr. Terema, you spoke about the unroadworthy vehicles and looking at the settlements we have here in the city. Many of them are servicing these routes.
Yes, we are fully aware of, but the thing is, we cannot allow those. But if it's not really unroadworthy, but if they think the vehicle is okay, they have to come and apply for license for them to operate, because they cannot operate illegally like that forever.
True, and the safety of the passengers too is paramount. Yeah, so going forward in terms of compliance, many would ask, because of the recent incidents that happened with regards to the alleged rape cases and also the women being abducted here in Port Moresby, how do we monitor, how do we trace taxis or buses operating within the public space? How do we do that?
That's one of the issues that we discussed. In future, we are looking at making compulsory for the crew and drivers to wear uniforms. At the same time, we are trying to give some code for those routes, so that, and at the same time, put the addresses of the driver, crew, everything in a bus, so that passengers moving in, they need to know or get some snapshots and for their own safety. In the event that anything happens, then they already have the information to give it to us. Or they can get a plate number of the vehicles on that. We have a master list of the PMPs, licenses that we issue. So when they get a plate number of the vehicle, come to us, we will definitely go trace who owns that vehicle, where they live, everything, and then fixed address will be kept by us. So that will make them, because the general public need to cooperate with us as well. Get whatever they need to get, they have to get it.
All right. So another thing too we've noticed here in Port Moresby is that a license holder of a taxi operating here in Moresby is the license holder, but then you have others who own vehicles using their licenses to operate. So like they have the paint for that vehicle, so on a particular Saturday or Sunday, they go back and give fees. Is that right?
Yes, taxis, we have did some, RTA is now giving licenses to companies only, not individuals. We are trying to do away with individual owners. So that means that the companies, they've got their own, color codes, or colors, or how they, so that's easy for the general public to report. Or, that taxi companies, so that in future we are looking at doing the same thing with the buses. We already put up expression of interest, and I think about 20 different companies have shown their interest. So we will be looking at, like, individuals, they become a subcontract to the main company. So like no more losing out on the business, but they have to operate under the company. So then we will address some other issues like wearing uniforms or color code and, all this stuff.
All right.
So that's a way forward for us to, address those some sort of issues.
What about those operating in the public space that have, tints, Douglas?
Well, by law, the Douglas or public transport should not tint the buses or taxis. That's by law. But some are, continuously putting Douglases on. So our enforcement is another challenge too. Like, for example, pollution, we need to, because sometimes RTA does not have the arresting part, but we do have a prosecution powers. So when we put all these agencies work together, I think we will address most of the issues concerning public transport.
All right. So for the viewers there watching, what's the sort of, confidence now that you will give to them in terms of believing in the public system? We all use that to travel, not only in Port Moresby, but elsewhere in Papua New Guinea as well.
Like I said earlier, the public transport now is more or less like not safe for especially, young girls and a woman. So before they go in, I think they need to get a snapshot of the plate number and the route there, that bus is traveling. So that will make it easier for us. But I'm encouraging the public transport owners that you are providing a very, very important service for for the general public. So their safety must be guaranteed at all times. That's a message that I can give it to the owners. But that we normally have regular discussions with the operators as well. So we will continue to partner with them and discuss some of these issues.
All right. So, Mr. Terema, just you spoke about getting a snapshot of the bus before our women folk get on the bus. Is that the sort of society we want to see? We want women to travel safely on board, and if we are, passing the buck on to them again, saying every time you get on the bus, you turn around and look at the back of you, look in front of you. Is that something we want to see in our country?
Really, I mean, this should be a freedom, and people must have some confidence in, public transport to travel freely and move around like other countries are doing. But we have a few cases like that come on, so now we, as, regulators, we are looking at how well we can improve on that to address those sort of issues. But for time being, like I said, for our safety, and so we can go ahead and get a snapshot of plate number. But in future, we are looking at putting up outlines At the same time, giving them the codes for the different routes. And also we are going to allow them to wear uniforms. And also put these buses into the companies so that easy for us to, trace and then find out, those buses who have been involving in those incidents.
All right. More of these discussions on Infocus when we return after these short messages. Welcome back to Infocus. Mr. Terema, continuing on with our discussions. More awareness is needed to help people understand the roles of road safety and also using the public transport here in Papua New Guinea. In terms of your office and its roles, has there been any form of awareness like we used to see before in terms of awareness at schools, at public places? What's happening with regards to this?
Yes, we have a unit between the RTA on road safety. We normally have a plan, and we have we normally visit schools, regular visits to schools, public places, youths. We talk about road safety, how to use the road when they are as a driver or as a passenger or as a pedestrian. So we give our messages to the various people with different levels of awareness. So at the moment we have a road accident database. All accidents happening in the country, we have a database in place. And using that data, we normally focus on the areas that needs to be addressed, like, for example, school children, walking to school or, So basically, we have the database which will direct us to target those people who become vulnerable to road accidents. So at the moment, we have a major awareness plan, which will be in Western Islands. There have been a lot of road accidents happening from the newly built freeway from Kagamuga to Chogoba. And a lot of people, they are not aware of those, four-lane roads before. So once they needs to be, they need to be educated. So we have experienced a lot of road accidents been happening. So we will be sending a team up next week, and we will be running the program for a month or 2 weeks. So that is our major awareness for this year. But we do have regular awareness campaigns in the city and other provinces as well. So that is one of our functions.
All right. So you spoke about your presence in the provinces. In terms of RTA, where in Papua New Guinea are your offices located at the moment?
We have 4 regional offices. One in Mase in Ley, Islands in Agen, Ningini Islands in Rabaul, and we are headquarters in Port Moresby in the southern region. So we normally have our program plans on those regional offices, and then we extend it to the provinces.
All right. Going back to the first segment where you highlighted the 8 new routes that were being established here in Port Moresby. Going forward, the existing routes, there are some public transport, especially buses that are not complying. They go just turn halfway and don't finish their routes. Are there penalties especially for these buses when they do that?
Yeah, of course, yes, because the licenses are issued to service a route from point A to point B. And that is the fee or fare they pay. So if a crew and a driver decided to turn in between, which is all illegal, because license terms, the condition of the license is for them to complete the route. Say, for example, Route 9, it has to start from Gereu and finish at Boroko and then return. But a lot of days, sometimes you will see that they will turn around at Vision City or sometimes at 4 Mile, which is completely wrong. They're supposed to complete them because it spells out clearly in the license for them to complete. That's why we give them the license for them to service that particular route. If they are not completing, then who else is going to complete the route and save those people? So that is illegal, and I'm encouraging the operators owners of the PMVs to, tell their crews and drivers to making sure that they have to comply the route, comply with the, terms and conditions of the license. They have to complete the route because people are paying the full fare for them to, complete the route, not for get a full pay and, drop them off in between, which is illegal. So, and another thing is freeway is also not we have never given any license to service freeway. Any buses that are, carrying passengers or conducting business along the freeway is totally wrong, illegal.
All right. So you spoke about the part of the, PMVs and the owners, their part. But as users, we also have our part to play in reporting all this and raising the red flag whenever we see something is not right. It's also our responsibility.
Yeah, you are correct. When the traveling public also to inform us or let us know so that we can follow up on those, because sometimes the general public, they don't report things. They just do with that and then they get on to the next bus and these sort of things. But how can we address this issue when no one is reporting the matter? So I'm encouraging the general public also to cooperate with us so that we have to address some of these issues, like not completing the route 1 or overcharging 2. And, some incidents that happen in the public transport, they need to report. Like, for example, that incident that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. None of the even crew or driver or the owner of the vehicle or some of the passengers who were in that particular bus did not come forward to report the matter. So these sort of things, how will we address the issue when no one is reporting? So in that incident, I think I'm encouraging someone who was in that bus to come to RTA or police to report the matter so that we can address together, so that those involved can be penalized. Without reporting, it's making our job more complicated. We do have the master list for all the PMVs and taxis operating in the city. Only if they happen to report, then we will trace down and see which bus was been involved. So if we don't report, then the matter is going to get worse and worse, or increase. So it's better for the general public to work together with the agencies concerned, and collectively we can address all these issues.
All right. Mr. Terema, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak with you and your time. And we wish the RTA all the best in its endeavors going forward.
Thank you.
All right. This has been In Focus. If you have comments on tonight's program, you can email us on the email now showing on your screen, or you can engage with us on social media. You can also catch this program a little later on YouTube. From all of us here, stay safe. Bye-bye.